Hello, welcome to Network. My name is Phumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. SABC Network on Facebook, X and Instagram, News Network at sabc.co.za on email. This week our Expo is asking you about your views on that chip that's being inserted into brains of humans. Elon Musk and his company are doing some of that work. Results of that are coming up later in the program. Here's what's coming up in this episode. We look at the tech skills brain drain. We go to Benin in West Africa to find out about waste being used to generate power. In our conversation, we chat about the drop in funding for tech startups in South Africa. While South Africa already has a tech skills shortage, there are many people in the tech sector with the skills that are already not really there who are leaving the country. But what's causing this?
In the wake of a significant wave of job cuts in the global technology sector, concerns are rising about the future of STEM careers, particularly in South Africa, where unemployment rates are already at a high. Recent retrenchments in tech giant companies like Google and Amazon paint a grim picture. Philip Hubert, co-founder of Offerzen, a tech talent marketplace platform, shares his insights.
For the past, I would say three or so years, we've been in the hottest tech hiring market possibly ever. And that has meant that it's been fantastic to be a software engineer. It's been better than ever to be a software engineer. And that has changed quite considerably over the last 12 months. So what has happened is that due to global instability, interest rates rising, inflation, a number of different things, tech has been severely affected. And so what that has meant is a lot of companies have had layoffs, and companies have slowed down on their hiring. And so what that has meant is that it's just a tougher job market. So you basically went from being a software engineer is probably the best job in the world to it's maybe just a regular job. It still pays well and it's still a good job, but it's no longer what it used to be.
According to Offerzen's report, software developers in South Africa are increasingly leaving their roles in pursuit of better salaries, benefits, and remote work opportunities. This exodus underscores the challenges facing the tech workforce in the country.
Let's be honest, if you're offered a job to do exactly what you're doing right now as a journalist or as a presenter, but you're getting paid maybe 3 or 4 times your salary, it's a no-brainer, right, at the end of the day. So, there is that unbalance that's sort of lurking as well, together with the fact that, we have these lucrative offers that are coming in from big tech, but it's not only the lucrative offers, they're also investing a lot in Africa, right? So they're putting down like $1 billion to upskill, in terms of saying, they want 100,000 software developers in the next 10 years that they want to churn out, or, something like that. So those are also factors that are starting to contribute towards why it's becoming more lucrative.
The situation is further exacerbated by the broader economic landscape. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated digital transformation, leading to increased demand for tech skills. However, the surge in demand has not translated into job security for many in the industry.
What we're seeing right now is companies are very much preferring to hire senior engineers over junior engineers. So the roles that are there are heavily skewed towards the senior side. And if we're looking at salary data changes over the last year, what we've seen is we've actually seen a decrease in salaries for junior software engineers, while senior software engineers are still getting a bit of an increase. It's just slightly over inflation, but there's at least an increase, where on the junior side, they've actually had a salary decrease. So to answer your question, I think it's very, very hard, because what companies tend to want to do is they want someone to hit the ground running. And that means not a junior person. So previously, when the market was strong, they were willing to invest in juniors. Whereas now, that's no longer the case for many companies.
As stakeholders grapple with these challenges, there is pressing need for collaboration between industry players, South African government and educational institutions to address skills gaps, foster innovation, and create sustainable employment opportunities.
As we're facing power outages, let's find out about a tech startup that is trying to solve some of this issue.
In South Africa for years, we've been having a problem with the energy crisis, and many people have been complaining about the utility bills, which have been rapidly increasing over the years. So we've came up with a solution that saves your electricity bills at 80%, which is very lucrative for all the households, commercials, and everyone.
Leadership is a life and death situation, is because you cannot walk alone. You cannot. Who mentors you is just as important as what they say to you.
We developed an innovation called Lightroom, which is LED lights with battery backup system that lasts up to 8 hours. It has many features which are very different in the market. There's a remote control. It is dimmable 3 times. The reason we added a feature of having a dimmable LED bulb is because I grew up in the rural areas. I used to live with my granny. She always used to complain about lighting which are affecting her eyes. So she will ask to dim the lights if possible, which was not possible back then. So now we create a solution that accommodates everyone.
Find a problem. Case in point, ugesi. And you're not solving inkinga kagesi because of load shedding. Before load shedding, we very inkinga kagesi. It's just that the spotlight has always been on the urban areas. But what about emakhaya? You're coming with your 7 A's, you're going into university, utholi basari. I urge, ngoba ngeke sihlale in a corner office with aircon, but bega within your locus of where you grew up, where you come from. What are the critical problems that community or that society faces?
Maybe some of our problems are in lessons that we can find elsewhere in Africa. In Benin, in West Africa, we found a project that's trying to turn waste products into a power generating mechanism.
Benin entrepreneur Enoch Nega spearheads a local firm transforming everyday biowaste into a powerful energy source. The biowaste is powering homes and farms. His small team is revolutionizing the way hundreds of homes and more than a dozen farms in Benin manage waste and energy.
As a student, we noticed that when we left class with the power outages, it was really difficult. I got into the mindset of one day being able to think about solving the problems of electrical energy. One evening, I was preparing food, and the candle I was using in the kitchen fell into my food waste and it caught fire. When it caught fire, I thought, what is this? I became interested in this by discussing with my environmental chemistry professor. That's where he told me that it was okay. It's biogas.
In some areas, compost waste production is so large that his company Biogas Benin is able to provide 24-hour off-grid electricity to surrounding neighborhoods, showcasing how waste can be a valuable energy resource for transforming Benin's energy landscape.
Il faut qu'on réfléchisse avec des solutions simples à créer dans notre environnement des solutions.
We need to think with simple solutions to create in our environment. Solutions so that the population really adopts the technology. You can see what we really do locally. Everywhere we have mansions at home, and that's where we trained. We took teams, we started working with them, and in the end we saw that by building in the ground, this allows us to work very simply, without machines, without anything besides the waste that we already produce in our homes, on our farms.
De pouvoir traiter de façon très simple, sans machine, sans rien, les déchets que nous produisons déjà dans nos maisons.
In a world grappling with climate change and the search for sustainable energy solutions, Nega hopes Benin's biogas complete waste to energy cycle will usher in a renewed dedication to environmental stewardship for his country.
SABC Network on Facebook, X and Instagram. After the break, we chat about the drop in funding when it comes to tech startups. SABC Network on Facebook, X, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Now, the Disrupt Africa Tech Funding Startup Report says the amount of funding that goes into startups across the African continent has gone down over the last year or so. This means that those who are trying to create small businesses and create employment are not getting as much money as they should be into their businesses. To talk to us about this is IT editor at Biz Community, and that is Lindsay Shooters. Hello, and thank you very much for being a part of our network, Lindsay. Maybe if you can start by telling us whether you agree with this.
It's actually like this investment innovation trend cycle that we need to be aware of. And what we saw over like the last couple of years of investment was a lot of Web3 stuff, and then that all got wiped out. And probably see more consolidation and merging in the market, with startups coming together and building up what they had lost, building back stronger, finding different holes to plug into. And then when they come back, the scale of those businesses are going to be a lot bigger.
Lindsay, where does tech funding come from?
You get some cash in, you convince, you go with your spreadsheet, or at least your presentations, you go around, you do all your presentations, and you get funding like pretty much on your PowerPoint deck. And then from there it moves into like seed funding. So that's when you actually starting to build the business. You're seeding it and it's starting to grow and starting to bring people on board. It's like invest in other skills that you don't maybe have yourself. Then you start expanding, and then it like goes through until there is an actual business, and then you start to get like Series A, Series B, and that's just to scale up and go further. So angel investors will come in and give you money for free, but most investors will take a percentage of the business, and then probably be on the board as well, and then they start pulling the strings as well.
You talk about those funders who would want a certain percentage or share from those that they're funding. How much share is good to part with?
It all comes down to share of business. So you'll get a valuation on your business. So you'll speak to like a lot of funds or through your incubator, and they'll put a value on your business, and then what the VCs are willing to put in, or what the investor is willing to put in, they need to be compensated per share of that future like valuation. So if you had to sell out tomorrow for like $10 million and someone put in $2 million, that's straight up 20% of your business.
You went to the last SA Innovation Summit. Did you notice any funding deals taking place there?
SA Innovation Summit 2023 was pretty cool, actually. So there was funding like on the floor for 80 startups. And that funding, that deal flow was about $22 million, which is small, but I mean, like 50% of the startups that came to Innovation Summit with funding ambitions, they were at seed stage, and 28% were ready for venture capital, so ready to like really give up some of that business to institutional investors. And then a quarter of those, of like the entire batch, they were asking for more than $1 million to scale to their next phase. So obviously, like fintech is still a big thing. And this is what gets lost like in the Disrupt numbers. So Disrupt counted in 2021 576 fintech startups in Africa, right? But in 2023 they counted 678, and that's like a 17% increase.
How much of this is speculative and how much of it is based on data?
Still a lot of speculation. I mean, the fun thing about reporting on the startup space is you get to see what some people would term as crazy people, because like these people are thinking about solving problems that don't really exist yet. So the investors who are coming on board need to buy into that dream as well. And on that alone, it's a lot of speculation. So what these investors are doing is like now where they don't have as much money going around because of the global financial slowdown, they're starting to hedge their bets a little bit more and like try and find like the sure things.
And lastly, do you think monies will be returning to this sector in future?
Monies will be coming back into the fintech space. I mean, there's still a lot of banking, banktech, insurtech. There's a lot of innovation happening there. There's still a whole total addressable market of millions of Africans and South Africans who don't have bank accounts, who aren't in the formal economy. And unfortunately, as we're doing all this digital adoption, the formal economy becomes a bigger factor. So you'll see a lot of innovation around like virtual cards and a lot of bank accounts and financial products that are geared at people who aren't in that market yet.
All right, Lindsay Schutters, thank you very much for being a part of our network. That's Lindsay Schutters. He is IT editor at Space Community. SABC Network on Facebook, X, and Instagram. It's newsnetwork at sabc.co.za on email. SABC Network on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Welcome back. Here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the tech space.
Inside a recording room at Queen Mary University of London, a group of researchers fiddle with novel artificial intelligence tools to develop what they call the new virtual worlds of music. Andrea Martonelli and Max Graf are among over 30 doctoral students working with Dr. Matteo Barthett, a senior lecturer in digital media, studying computational creativity and generative AI. Together, they have set up a futuristic studio where music meets cutting-edge tech.
Like extended reality, XR, is a way of like extending the physical reality that we live in, right? So the instruments that I envision in the future and also instruments that I want to build myself are instruments that harness either existing physical instruments or have new physical instruments with counterparts in the virtual world, so that you extend the physical haptic instruments that you can touch and carry and play with through virtual means and all of the interaction techniques that these sorts of devices affords.
While labels and streaming companies partner to make the technology, many experts say AI raises legal or ethical concerns. And now in the USA, an 11-year-old boy can hear for the first time in his life thanks to a breakthrough gene therapy treatment that his surgeon says could have profound implications for people with hearing loss in the future.
Well, the idea here is to replace a defective gene that a child is born with, and there are estimated to be over 150 genes that cause hearing loss at birth. And this is just the first one that we've been able to treat. The idea is to really restore that gene to the inner ear by literally injecting it into the inner ear. And it's a surgical procedure to do that. But it's exciting because if we can get the gene back in and get it functioning, it should restore hearing. And we now have the technology in terms of gene therapy agents to be able to do this in the ear.
Jamila hopes that the success of the clinical trial, which was sponsored by Eli Lilly subsidiary Acus Inc., will lead to similar breakthroughs in the future for the other more common genetic mutations that cause hearing loss. Off we go to Chile. A recycling center in Easter Island, known in Chile as Rapa Nui, gathered almost 9 tons of electronic equipment to be sent to continental Chile for recycling.
Es importante para nosotros esta alianza que crea Entel con Municipalidad para poder hacer el retiro de esos residuos desde la isla hacia el continente. Hacerse cargo de una manera esta empresa de sus mismos residuos, que es lo que queremos que muchas otras empresas puedan hacer también.
Rapa Nui residents took their broken or old tablets and phones to their local recycling center. The waste is then transported to the port of Valparaiso by boat to be recycled. This effort will reduce the environmental impact and create environmental awareness, said manager at Recycling Center Alexandra Duque.
Now, we've read and heard that Elon Musk and his company Neuralink are planning to insert a chip into a human brain, and this chip will then detect how our brains work. They first got a go-ahead from a court last year. Now, this week our Expo is asking you about your thoughts on this. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, X and Instagram. Use network at sabc.co.za and email. From me, Pumela Lezondi and the rest of the team. Bye-bye.